Good evening, everyone. I'm Bruce Dumont, the president of the Museum of Broadcast Communications, and I thank you very much for joining us tonight for this very special evening with Jeff Garlin. We sincerely appreciate it. I'd like to spend a moment just introducing the people that were responsible for helping put this evening together. There are two new board members of the museum, Rick Levin and Mitch Rubin. You want to stand up and take a bow? Our host for this evening's presentation.
Which, by the way, goes against all comedy rules.
Also, a couple of other new board members, David Plyer. David, please stand up and say hello.
You got to keep it low. We'll get into this.
And Chuck Ducote, who's the general manager of WKQX. Chuck is back there. He's got to watch over Mancow all the time, so congratulations for being able to stay up late, and I'm sure you got up early. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. How many people are members of the Museum of Broadcast Communications? Okay. For those of you who did not raise your hand, if you would like to become a member this evening, and tonight you could become a member for $15, a special introductory rate. And if you join tonight, you will not only get advance word about future events like this, but also you'll get a chance to vote in the Radio Hall of Fame. The only Radio Hall of Fame is located in Chicago. Ballots will be going out, a second wave will be going out on July 1st, and you'll get a chance to vote this year and next year for the Radio Hall of Fame. So if you would like to do that at the conclusion of the evening, we have a table in the back, and again, we hope that you would join us and support the museum. I should also mention that at the conclusion of the presentation this evening, we're going to ask Rick Levin, who's one of the great auctioneers in Chicago. He's going to come up here and lead a little auction for these two fine gifts that were presented to us by HBO. On my immediate right is this is a genuine leather jacket, large, and if you open it up, it has HBO on the inside. They don't plaster it all over the back, so you can wear it out to fancy occasions, but it's a very nice, genuine leather jacket donated by HBO, and obviously the poster to the right of the jacket is obvious, and again, that perhaps would look great for anyone who's a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Tonight we are very pleased to welcome home one of the hottest talents in television, Jeff Garlin. He grew up watching Chicago television. He walked through the galleries downstairs and almost had tears in his eyes as he was recalling his fond memories of youth. To guide you through the next hour or so, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions as well, we have one of the premier profilers of celebrities in the United States. Among his Esquire subjects have been retired talk show host Johnny Carson, David Letterman, Jay Leno, Woody Allen, and also he has done other interviews with Frank Sinatra. The Sinatra interview helped inspire Zamie's acclaimed bestseller, The Way You Wear Your Hat, Frank Sinatra and the Lost Art of Livin'. Last season, he was on Bravo Network's Second City Presents, and he is really one of the best, most respected celebrity interviewers in the United States. Please welcome our friend, Bill Zamie.
Thank you, Bruce.
It took about a half hour to get Garlin out of Fraser Thomas's coat downstairs. But this is an honor. I love this program. I don't know what that says about me and the fact that I'm a malcontent in life. But Curb Your Enthusiasm is probably the best comedy, most original comedy on TV in years. This man is the executive producer and the co-star. And you may know him as Jeff Green. We love him as Jeff Garlin. Come on out and let's just have some yak. Jeff Garlin. Thank you.
Welcome home. Now say what you know, this is a bad room for comedy.
This is a horrible room for comedy because one of the rules of comedy is that you should have a low ceiling. And like, for example, right over there, that's bad for comedy. This equals a long night. A very long staircase. But it's really beautiful. I don't even know, what was this building used for? Does anyone?
This was the library, wasn't it? The
Library?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then who is Preston Bradley? Does he have anything to do with Bradley Place, where huh?
A minister who was on the radio.
Well, so
Did Jewish programming.
exactly right. No, so how does here? It all began here for you, Mr. Garland.
In this room.
Yeah. Morton Grove.
Morton Grove. And by the way, it always says, whenever the Sun-Times does a piece on me, it says Mount Prospect native. I've been to Mount Prospect.
Yeah,
but
I haven't. What's it like?
it's gorgeous. This time of year.
Yeah?
It's beautiful country up there. It's really quite beautiful. It's
I got to get out there sometime.
yeah. But I was born at Michael Reese Hospital here in Chicago.
Sure.
You know, yeah.
And you grew up with theater in your blood.
I grew up with theater. My mother actually went to the Goodman Theater, and she dropped out when she saw the commitment that she had to make, and she'd rather have a family, and now she's living vicariously through me.
She's living it up.
Yeah, she's living it up. She is living it up. You have no idea.
Hey, does she get that HBO for free?
No, she pays for HBO, but they don't. HBO, I don't think can even do that. You know, how are they going to call the cable company? Don't charge. You know, I don't know how they can do that even.
Well, it's worth every penny, you know.
Oh, it is.
But tell me what kind of kid you were out there in Morton Grove.
Well, actually, I was just on I was at a number of radio shows, and my old babysitters called up, and they had a nickname for me. They said, no offense, but we used to call you, I don't even remember it, but Insane Jeff or Mental Jeff. Yeah, Mental Jeff, they called me.
How do you know?
That's my brother.
See, there you go.
And I actually said on the radio, I said the only other person who probably still thinks of me as Mental Jeff is my brother.
That's it. I knew that was. Yeah. So you were a mental kid, acting out.
I thought I was normal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was a normal kid, I guess.
And you uprooted.
I didn't uproot. My parents uprooted.
Yeah.
They moved to Florida, and so it was not like you're going to be 12 years old and say, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay at that special place where 12-year-olds live. No, I went with them.
And eventually went to the University of Miami.
University of Miami, yes, which was a very expensive mistake for my father. I got a great suntan, and I was very funny amongst my classmates, but I was a film major. Except for my film classes, I didn't really go to class. I went to the pool, and
working on the tan.
Working on my tan. Then I eventually went in the comic strip comedy club in Fort Lauderdale when I was 20 years old. Literally a week after my 20th birthday, I went up on stage.
What led you to want to lead a life of stand-up?
I had no other choice because when I was always the funniest kid in school, and when I wanted to be one. I always thought I should be one. It happened for me in Chicago, is how I knew what I wanted to be. I went to the Palmer House with my family. I was maybe 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, probably 8, to see Jimmy Durante. And I remember after the show was over, I was driving home with my parents, and I asked them if that was a job. And they said, yes, that's a job. I said, well, that's a job that I want. So I knew from then on, you know.
3 blocks away, it all began.
Yeah.
And so stand-up. Now, who were your influences? Who did you want to emulate out there as best as you could?
Well, my favorite comedian of all time is Jack Benny.
Good choice. Beloved here at the museum.
Yes, as well he should. Jackie Gleason, Phil Silvers, and then later on George Carlin and Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor having a huge influence on me. Lenny Bruce, Shelley Berman, who I've become friends with.
Plays Larry's dad
on the show. He's coming to town here in a month to perform. So
he's in Chicago. You know, he invented the telephone.
He invented modern day comedy. Him and Mort Saul and Lenny and they invented it. So he invented what I do. So.
People forget though that Shelley, because Bob Newhart
Right, Bob Newhart
ran away with the whole telephone.
After Shelley, yeah. Shelley was
Shelley's bitter about it. Too.
First comedian ever to play Carnegie Hall, first comedian ever to have a gold record, first comedian ever to win a Grammy. And he's a genius, and it's an honor to know him.
Yeah,
but so those are my influences, and I'm sure some other people too. Albert Brooks,
sure.
Big influence. Woody Allen.
So how did your
Abe Vigoda?
Were you any? Yeah, well he's still not dead. By the way,
know.
Yeah.
I just got a picture of someone, the woman who casts Curb Your Enthusiasm. Through his manager or something, I got a picture of Abe Vigoda wishing me a happy birthday, which I have to get framed because I think it's funny.
Well, and it is, Jeff. So tell me, your material. What was your material like? Because I sense you were a little different out there.
Well, when I first started my act, this way, someone tonight came up to me and said, "What about you? What about Harry Carey and Aunt Bee?" And that was a prime example of a bit that I would do that I thought was funny, which was Aunt Bee and Harry Carey having sex.
Can you give us a little of that?
No, I cannot give you any of that. I have forgotten it. But it was all like television, cartoon, sex. It was what a 21-year-old thought was funny, and
TV being your
TV being a big thing, and sex combining with that, everything running amok inside me. And then a guy who is now the executive producer of one of the executive producers of Everybody Loves Raymond, Lou Schneider, who was a very close friend of mine. He was a comedian also at the time, and he had gotten to know me and thought I was really funny, and then he saw my act, and because he was an intelligent guy, he just couldn't believe how horrible it was. Audiences liked it at that time, It was so lowest common denominator, And I recorded my shows every night on tape, and he said, do you ever listen to them? And it occurred to me that I had hundreds of tapes that I had never listened to. He said, why don't you listen to one? And I did, and I was horrified at how really horrible I was. And so the next night, I threw away all my material and started fresh.
Really?
And just talking about things in my life, things that I cared about.
Which became pretty much your
what I do now.
calling card.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was many years of bombing.
Yeah.
And God bless Zanies I was a comedian. I played Zanies for years. I was either the MC or the middle act, and they never fired me, even though audiences thought I was strange.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
When exactly did Chicago come a-calling again?
Well, Chicago came a-calling. Yeah, that's so funny. Just Chicago came a-calling. I was living in Florida. I started doing comedy, and I wanted to come to Second City. And I didn't want to go to the University of Miami anymore. I wanted to just come to Chicago and be in Second City, and so I just did.
And how did that work out? You came here and started taking classes, I take it?
I took classes with a guy named Don DiPaolo.
Sure.
And
wore a lot of black.
See, now, yes, he wore a lot of black.
Yeah.
See, back then, Second City, there was two companies. There was the main stage and the ETC company, and there was a touring company, and they had two classes, beginners and advanced. Now they have level 18. They literally have all these levels. Actually, they've even gotten rid of the levels. They're like they call it the conservatory now. And there's all these sorts of things to go through, and oh man, so
hazing rituals.
Yeah, and eventually it got to a point where I quit the classes because I wasn't enjoying them, and I told them that I was going to get hired here anyhow, and the classes were bullshit and they didn't mean anything. So
that went over huge.
Well, yeah, but I remember when I was an extra years ago on Scarface. And I thought, I don't want to be an extra. Why, They had told me, I was so naive then, I was like 21 years old. They told me I had a part. Like they just offer them to unknown 21-year-olds in South Florida. But I got there and I found out I was an extra. And I said, I'm not going to be an extra. This is baloney. And all the other extras thought I had an attitude. And I said, no, I'm going to star in movies. I'm not going to be an extra with, you guys have fun.
So you did not actually participate in...
No, did not. I did one movie where I was an extra, and they upgraded me to a, quote, special extra, and that was my first movie, which was Spring Break, where I played Crazy Gut, and I smashed beer cans in my head and did belly flops. And I even shot a moon. So if you want to see what a 20-year-old Jeff Garland's ass looks like, get Spring Break coming out on DVD next month. It is, actually.
It's kind of exciting.
It was funny that something that happened to me was the DP, director of photography on that movie, was the DP on this movie I did called Daycare. So it's
big hit this summer.
Huge hit. Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You and Eddie.
Me and Eddie.
What was your seminal Second City experience? Anything that Del Close wasn't around at that point?
Yes, well, he wasn't at Second City, but he was around town.
He was around, yeah.
He was very supportive and very nice to me. Can I have some water, please? Is there any?
We have water here.
All right, tea,
2?
pudding.
Pudding. He loves pudding, by the way.
I love the pudding.
It's in his bio.
Yeah, it
Enjoys
is.
the pudding.
Love pudding and Bradley Kaufman. All right, so that's my nephew. All right, I just said his name because he's here.
Hey, Bradley.
It'd be funny if I love a man named Bradley Kaufman and I want to come out tonight.
Preston Bradley Kaufman.
Preston Bradley Kaufman, yeah,
There
it's
you
a
go.
center. I have ADD, I forgot what I was talking about.
The seminal Second City experiences.
See, Second City for me, it was a strange time for me because at Second City I would go on stage and the audiences loved me, but my fellow actors really didn't like me or have respect for me. Whereas in the stand-up world, other comedians thought I was a genius, but audiences thought I was horrible. So it was a weird
What
sort
does
of...
that even mean? How does that balance out?
Well, it takes years later that
Yeah.
it all balances out, but it means that when I walked out on stage at Second City, the audiences sensed that I was funny and I knew what I was doing, and there was something about me that they grabbed hold of. And for whatever reason, the other actors were jealous, angry, I don't know what it was, they didn't like me. Whereas in stand-up, I was very popular amongst my fellow comedians, but audiences thought what I was doing was a little too weird for them, you know.
Did you eventually replaced Chris Farley in the cast? He went to SNL.
I went in for Chris Farley, but I eventually got fired, so it doesn't matter.
How'd you get fired?
I got fired numerous times, and I quit numerous times. It was a very bizarre time for me at Second City. I learned a lot, but I can't look back and go, what a joyous, joyous time. But I have a great relationship with them now, you know, and they're very supportive of me. And I've hired more Second City actors than anybody ever on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
We have to.
And as a matter of fact, the cast that hated me the most, almost all of those people have been on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't care.
See, aren't you a beautiful, benevolent fella?
Well, what's the care? What am I going to worry about, you know? I hate them. You don't get anywhere if in life, you don't get anywhere, whether I'm talking about get anywhere in terms of happiness, success on any level, if you spend your time being bitter and resentful. Thank you very much.
The water's here.
Young fella. I just turned 41. People are young fellas.
So now you were here until when? What propelled you to go west, young man?
I actually went east first.
Did you?
I went to New York, and then for more stand-up stuff. What happened was I got married here, and my wife said, we have to move to Los Angeles because that's where show business is. So I listened to her, and she proved correct.
Yeah.
Now we both want to move back, so.
That's the good news.
Yeah.
We want you back here.
Oh, thanks.
You had some interesting early work out there. You were getting hired though.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I was a villain on Baywatch.
I know.
I was Larry Lumen Large.
Larry Lumen Large.
The evil disc jockey who wanted to take over the beach. I went to one of my wife's friends' weddings, you know, and her uncle is the producer of Baywatch. And I said, you have a great show. It's all pretty colors and bosoms, you know. And I said, it's perfect. You don't have to think, just sit on the couch. Pretty colors, bosoms, you know. And he said, well, we might have you on. And then they wrote this part for me. And my very first scene that I had to film was a week after my wedding. I just got there, and I had to film a fantasy sequence with Pamela Anderson.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was not a good thing to do a week after you got married. Not that she was big into fat Jews, but nonetheless.
A lot of explaining to do at home, though, I imagine.
We liked it. We had a good time together. It was fun.
and then of course the recurring role on Mad About You. You were.
Well, yeah, actually,
How'd that happen?
it's weird how everything sort of leads to everything. I had directed Jon Stewart. I had nothing going on in my career. My career was dead after Baywatch. It wasn't because of Baywatch, but it just stopped. And I was really perplexed, you know. I was getting stand-up work and everything, but I had told my wife and my manager, my just recently signed manager, who's still my manager to this day, that in 1 year, if I don't have a TV deal, I'm going to go back to Chicago and be a tin man with my father-in-law.
Really?
Yeah. And a year later, I had a deal with ABC because I had, it's weird how things happen. I had directed on the stage and prepared Jon Stewart's HBO special, Unleavened. And the guy who was the producer of that was Robert Morton, who was the producer of the David Letterman show.
Morty.
And his girlfriend at the time was Jamie Tarsis.
Oh, yeah.
And so she would see me.
She ran ABC
before she ran
at the
ABC.
time,
She'd
yeah.
see me, and then she signed me to a deal. Every time from the history of my career that I had a deal with one network, I would get a show on another network. And so the very first time that happened was at a deal with ABC, and Mad About You, I auditioned for and got this part. And that's actually kind of, interesting because I had just told my agents that I would never go in for a same-day audition because I have attention deficit disorder and I can't really learn lines that quickly. That's why Curb Your Enthusiasm was perfect for me. Yeah. And I said, so no more same. So they call me, like a week later, we have a same-day audition, for Mad About You. So I figured, all right, you know what do I got to lose? I got nothing going on in my career. Sure, I go in and I audition for this character, Marvin. And they want to hire me. They're so excited, and they're adding new scenes. So then I get a call the next day, you're still hired, but it's just going to be one scene. Then I get a call the next day, you're still hired, but it's down to one line. We can understand if you want to pull out, we'll still pay you. And I would have given the advice to anyone, one line, don't do it, And I had my SAG card, I'd already been on shows, I didn't need to do it for that reason, it wasn't like a first job. And so I went and I said, all right, I'll do it. And for whatever reason, the producers saw some sort of chemistry with myself and Paul Reiser and John Pankow, and they said, we have something, and they decided to write this whole character, which I ended up being on the show for 3 seasons. It wasn't even supposed to be anything but one episode thing.
So now you would actually give advice, take the one line.
No, I would say don't.
See?
No. Because what happened to me was a fluky thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work out that way. But and that was a great time, and that was a great thing because once you're on a show like Mad About You that's established, people look at you differently. So, and then of course while I was doing Mad About You is when I developed Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Exactly. Right. Now, just to backtrack, you had directed a Jon Stewart special for HBO
And
as well
Dennis
as
Leary.
Dennis Leary.
Lock and Load.
How did that come about? How did they know that you were a directorial threat?
Well,
considering you were Lumen Large Larry.
Amongst my peers, at least guys like that, I'm considered to know the most about stand-up and how to make the best of your act, per se. And so John, when he got the HBO special, he called me up, and I said, do you want me to go with you and help prepare you for this? He goes, yeah, we didn't even know what to call it.
Yeah.
What do you do for this, So we went on the tour, and I prepared his show, and then we did it live from Miami, and I would open for him on the road, all these things. So then when Dennis Leary got his, he wanted me to be his, quote, Danny Murtaugh, which, if you're a baseball fan, you understand he was a manager.
Right.
And he even wanted me to walk out in a manager's jacket in the middle of his act and give him some notes and stuff, but it was just a stupid concept.
Danny Murtaugh
was the manager of the Pirates, yeah.
Pirates, yeah.
I don't know why he didn't say Leo DeRocher.
I don't know either, actually. Maybe he's from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, he's from Boston.
Well, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. But I guess Danny Murtaugh was like the manager that we can think of that stayed with the team for a long time. Walter Alston, I don't know.
Right, long time, guys.
Yeah. Whereas the Cubs, they go through the managers, Hopefully Dusty will stay for a while.
We got the man now.
I know. Yeah, now I'm very excited.
He's ready to go.
I took my wife out to dinner. She thought I was weird.
Well,
no, but she's like, why are you celebrating? Oh, Dusty's the manager. Don't you understand? It's all going to change.
It's fantastic.
Oh.
And it has.
It has, sorta.
Sorta,
Isn't
yeah.
that weird? But you don't want to go too far.
No, you got to just pace.
Yeah,
Pacing.
I know. Yeah.
Pacing, baby.
Pacing.
That's it.
That's the whole thing.
So you find yourself at Castle Rock with an office.
Yeah.
And you're
no,
writing-
that's not. No.
Explain how the genesis
Okay,
of Curve came about.
Another. Here's another thing where one thing I'm doing and it leads to another thing. And this is like I was writing. I had a deal with HBO Independent Productions, to do a television series for CBS. And I was developing it and writing the pilot with a guy named Alan Zweibel, who was, he created It's Gary Shandling Show, and he also created, he wrote all of,
On SNL, he was
on
there.
SNL, yeah, but
and he wrote
Gilda Radner, all of
Radner's
Gilda
stuff,
Radner's
yeah.
stuff, he wrote it, okay?
Wrote a play about her as well.
Yeah, I wrote Bunny, a play, yeah. And he and I were writing a pilot together, and it was in a little suite of offices that was at Castle Rock.
Okay.
That's where Alan had a deal, so we went there.
So there
and
you
wrote.
were.
And Billy Crystal was on one side of Alan's office, and Larry David was on the other, and I saw those guys every day. And Billy I hadn't known before that, and I got to know him, but Larry and I were acquaintances from the world of stand-up. So we would all...
Where he was a terror, by the way. He was...
Well, yeah, Larry was we'd go up on stage, and if the... I swear, if somebody was like let's, he's standing on stage, let's say I'm in the front row, and I'm like this. Oh, what, you're not looking at me? Oh, screw you, who needs this? And he'd walk off.
very temperamental.
And by the way, comics would watch him for two reasons. One, because he was a great comedian, but two, because they wanted to see how quick he'd take before he'd walk off. So he said, hey, you want to go lunch? Yeah, sure, let's go. And Alan couldn't go. And so we're at lunch, and he was asking me questions about stand-up comedy. And I said, if you ever want to do an HBO special, I have the perfect idea, which was Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And the idea was, in fact, to try and mount as Larry David himself.
Yeah,
right?
what the premise was, and I thought of this, I came up with the concept when I was doing Jon Stewart and Dennis Leary shows, was to show the making of an HBO special. But two things. One is you would show, like my original concept was like 75% stand-up with 25% behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then it could actually be the special, or you could freak out and then not do the special, and there'd be a special after. There'd be the special, or you could have the special afterwards. It depends on what you want to do. He, of course, went for the freak out angle.
Freak out, yes, exactly. He never could bring himself.
And we went and pitched it to HBO. Larry loved it, and they said, "How can we not do this?" And then when we were filming the special or pilot, whatever you want to call it, Larry's like, "This is so much fun. We got to do this as a series." And then he talked to HBO, and they said, "Let's do it." But we always thought it was just something for fun. We didn't think it'd become successful.
Did that special begin the same way all the shows have since, in the sense that you improv'd a lot of it?
We always improv. He writes the outlines, and then we improvise from it. Let's say the scenario is like, I can't tell the story for the whole script, but let's say it's you and I are talking. Let's say I'm Larry, okay?
Right.
And you're interviewing Larry to talk about Seinfeld. And at some point in the interview, you say something that makes Larry so upset, he doesn't know what to do with himself. Meanwhile, he sees a woman in the front row with gigantic bosoms, he can't take his eyes off them, and he has to sort of maintain composure during all this. And maybe there's something else that's happening from a previous scene. That's all we know. We go into it, and then we would just do that, and...
Well, he has a fantastic ability to do this, and he's not trained to do improv. He's a stand-up.
It's amazing to me.
Right?
He is a natural. He is not trained at all. He said that he took an improv class once years ago in New York, but that guy is an amazing improviser and has never been formally trained. It's amazing.
The cool thing is then immediately became part of his brain trust. Now, from what I understand, he trusts very few comedic minds, and yet you somehow dovetailed completely into his sensibility.
I have dovetailed into his sensibility. When I tell him that, he'll laugh very hard.
Well, you could change the bird.
Well, no, he has. If he respects you, he has I'm one of the people on this. Look, the way I look at it is, I work on Larry David's show. I help Larry David get onto the screen what Larry David wants. I don't think it's my show. I don't think it's HBO's show. It's Larry's show in my mind. And Larry's the reason the show is great. And all I try and do is help Larry get what Larry wants. So you kind of have to trust a guy who has that attitude.
Why don't we take a look at what you guys look like together in a few clips here, and then we can elaborate further. Do we have that?
I'm going to sit here while we're doing this. It's kind of...
In my head, Sweet Judy Brown Eyes.
Judy Brown Eyes?
I know the song is Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, and she has brown eyes. It's brown eyes. That's not Judy.
Sweet Judy Brown Eyes. Holy shit.
You know how bookstores make you feel stupid? Well, health food stores really make me feel unhealthy. And what's this bullshit, by the way? Susie making up this story about going to the dentist?
She had a dentist appointment.
Well, Cheryl doesn't believe a word of it.
I was with her.
Yeah, she keeps breaking these appointments with Cheryl.
I was with her. What do you want?
I can't find this colon cleanser.
Ask
I don't know
somebody.
where it is. We've been up and down the store.
But ask somebody. That's why.
Excuse me. I'm looking for a colon cleanser.
Oh. Adam, where's the colon cleanse?
The what?
The colon cleanse.
Colon cleanse is aisle G. It's right behind you.
Oh, okay. It's just right around the corner, right there.
It's for my wife. It's for my wife.
What was he thinking? For the next 5 years, was he going to come into work every day and leave the toupee at home?
Yeah, right. What, just wear it on weekends?
Live a double life. Unbelievable.
They had no plan.
He had a good plan. He didn't want to get hired.
Oh, like you would hire a fat guy? Huh? You don't have a proclivity for fat people? I think you got a strong proclivity for fat people. If a fat guy came in, you wouldn't want to hire him? You would have been all over that fat guy. You would have loved that fat guy. Don't
All
tell me.
things being equal, I'd hire the fat man.
That's right. And by the way, it's not like I don't hire other people who aren't bald. Okay? I don't have a bald manager. I don't have a bald lawyer.
Yeah, you have a bald accountant, a bald urologist, a bald travel agent. You have far more bald professionals than the average person.
Okay, so I do. So what?
Well, I just want you to notice.
Okay, I noticed. It's duly noted.
All right, I knew you'd say duly noted.
Oh,
too.
did you? Oh, you're
I
so
knew.
smart.
I-
Oh, you knew. Yeah,
I knew you'd say
you know everything I'm going to say before I say it.
before you say
Oh,
it.
what a genius,
What a genius
you are.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know I was going to say that, too.
I knew you were going to say that.
I knew you were going to say that.
I knew you were going to say that.
I felt stupid with you watching it, me sitting right there. So
That's why.
I wish they would have showed the part of the clip where. Oh, I know why they didn't, because of the language. But
we can't take it here.
no,
in
no, no.
Chicago,
When Susie comes up and she finds us in my daughter's room, because that was the only time in the history of the show where we did something that wasn't in the script in terms of story, like in such a big way, and that is. We're looking for the doll's head, the doll, and then my wife comes in, rips off the doll's head, he puts it in his pants, and when we were filming the scene, the shelf came falling down,
Right.
which wasn't, it wasn't supposed to fall down, but she came in, we kept on doing the scene, and I just said, I have been coming here, I've been worried about this shelf maybe falling, and it did, and thank God I came to check things out, you know, and she starts swearing at me, calling me all the names she calls me, and then she calls Larry Mr. California Closets because he supposedly helps me, you know. And then we shot what was in the script, which was us sort of reacting like little little kids caught. But he ended up using what, you know,
The collapse of
the shelf. Yeah.
The woman who plays your wife. What is her
Susie Essman is her name.
Very
She is,
funny lady.
A comedian from New York, and
Frightening
she's one of
lady.
the few people who didn't have to audition to be on the show.
Really?
Larry said, "What about Susie for your wife?" Because we both knew her. I'm like, "Oh my God, yes." But as much as he said that to me and I said, oh my God, yes, we had no idea. I mean, she created that character.
Yeah.
That character, just as Susie yells at Jeff, okay? And she reinvented Susie yells at Jeff. So, you know, she's wonderful.
Can we talk about the secret life of Jeff Green? What exactly goes through your mind when you are in that character?
Okay, here's a few things. In terms of me as an actor, nothing goes through my mind. I could be eating pizza and they could go, oh, go to the scene. Oh, sure, hold this. And I think that's the key to my success, is because I don't know, like, oh boy, this is so dirty. I can't say that. But no, I'm talking about in terms of a storyline that's coming up. Let's just say that I use Larry's wife for imagination for something.
All right,
okay?
whatever that could be.
And I let Larry know, okay? Which is one of the funniest scenes we've ever shot. Okay, and my wife asked me the night before, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And I said, I won't know until I'm standing there and I start to say something. You know, that's why when people guest star on the show, we don't let them know what they're going to do until they are seconds away from doing it, because we don't want them to think of something ahead of time. So when I'm playing Jeff Green, I'm not thinking anything. I'm just saying whatever comes into my mind, you know. I know that he's not based on anybody, and I know the only thing that I have, he's like a lot of managers and agents in California, because he's not about anything. He wants to, he cheats on his wife, he wants to feel good, not that we all don't, but he'd steal his daughter's doll for his friend. You know, he doesn't care. And he's just not about anything. There's no right and wrong with him. There's no sense of core values, you know, and so I just play everything knowing that about him. So there's nothing going on inside my head.
Well, that sort of makes it a really interesting dichotomy between you and then Larry's character, who is about everything, just about.
He's about everything. And the worst thinker is Richard Lewis.
Lewis, yeah.
Richard Lewis he used to call me all the time the night before, asking me questions about what we're doing the next day. Because Larry would send him the scripts. Yeah. And then Larry would say to me on the set the next day, what did I send him the script? What do we need this for? Because he'd have anxiety over what we were about to do. Just this constant. Richard Lewis is what you think he is. He's a sweet guy, but he is like that. And so he's the only one who thinks too much, you know.
He sent me an email.
He did?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I asked him about you, and he said, well, you have an uncanny ability to sort of make people feel better about their work while they're on the set. And
that is, there's numerous reasons. Some I won't mention.
Uh-huh.
But I will say that it's a big responsibility of mine. I keep the set very loose in terms of the crew. I feel that it's my job that the crew should be laughing all day. So I say things that make them laugh all day, which I can't tell you what they are. But I just do that. And then in terms of people like Richard or Shelley Berman, Shelley Berman was said he was born without the security gene.
Uh-huh.
That at all times he is insecure. So and he does great work. So it's very easy for me to go up to him and go, you were great in that scene. Really? You think so? Yes! You were great! And so I make a point of every scene telling him and Richard how great they were.
Here's what Richard said about you. Garland is at his best just as a great ref is in a heavyweight fight, considering Curb as a heavyweight comedy. You know he's there, but he doesn't get in the way of the fight. In this case, the scene. He has an uncanny ability to know when to stay on the ropes and when to come out hammering with a flurry of exquisite lines, and always in character. He also said, sadly, when Jeff praises me, since I will eternally be riddled with low self-esteem, I will never truly believe whether he is praising me or whether he is trying to prevent me from a needless suicide attempt.
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And you know, if you obviously watch the show on a regular basis, quite often you'll see an entire scene where I don't say anything, and because the guest actors like to talk a lot, and I know what has to be accomplished in the scene, and I'm completely secure sitting in a scene and not saying anything, or just saying the one thing that needs to be said at the right moment. I don't, as a matter of fact, I feel sometimes I'm better in a scene when I don't say anything, because talking doesn't equate story and doesn't equate good acting. You can be a good actor and just be sitting in the corner, you know?
Your presence sort of confers a stability upon a scene in some ways, too.
That's nice, good.
Yeah, well, I'm here sucking up, apparently. But, so it's 6 pages, basically.
7 pages, you know.
And
they've gotten more and more, like the first year they might have been 4 pages, and they get longer every year. They get more and more dense. And the first year it took us 5 days to shoot an episode. Then it takes 6. Now it's 7 or 8. We're lucky if we get it in at 7.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And basically, this is just you and Larry together, or Larry kind of...
This is all Larry.
Larry comes up with the premise. Yeah.
Larry comes up with everything. Larry writes everything. Larry is everything. Larry is my God. No. Larry does everything. My job in pre-production is I read the outlines, and he says, "What do you think?" And I say, "They're great." And they don't change, and we shoot what he wrote because we get no notes. We get 0 notes.
From HBO, you mean?
Yeah, from HBO, yes. Yeah. Take any show on television, including Friends, okay? Believe me, Friends, which probably, or Everybody Loves Raymond, doesn't get as many notes, but all network shows get tons of notes. And the worse the show, the more the notes you know they're getting. So we get 0 notes, and it's usually a first draft. There's not any rewrites. So when we get on the set, if I'm not in the scene, even if I'm in the scene, I just tell Larry what I think after a take, and we make adjustments and what have you. So I'm very creatively involved, but he writes the outline that we work from.
How insecure is he after a take?
Not insecure at all.
Yeah, he knows.
As a matter of fact,
when you know when you got gold?
What's that?
You guys know when you hit gold?
Oh, most certainly. And there's times where I think we've hit it, and he definitely thinks, no, in his mind we have not. Mm-hmm. And we've miscast. And it's all falling apart, and it's bullshit. You know, in his mind, I'm saying. And then myself and the other producers look at each other and go, what is he watching?
Yeah.
What is he thinking? This is great. And then later on, he'll watch it, and he'll go, oh, I was wrong, you know. But most of the time, he's right, though.
Let's talk about the casting and how that goes about, because it's a totally unusual scenario, because these people come in and they read with the principals, right?
Which, yes. Our show is the only show, like when you audition for Friends, and you're auditioning to play David Schwimmer's girlfriend, you're not reading with David Schwimmer. No. You're reading with the casting director or the producer. On our show, when you come in for the only audition you'll ever have for the show, not in terms of one time, but for that particular part, you get a slip of paper in the lobby which says your secretary, who is you're a gay secretary who is having a baby with your partner, and Larry wants to suggest names, and you think he's an idiot. That's all it'll say. And they'll come in, and they're reading it with Larry. Or if I'm in the scene too, they're reading with me, and Cheryl is in all the casting sessions. So people conceivably will come in to read for the show, and they'll be standing there acting out the scene with myself, Larry, and Cheryl at the same time, which I didn't feel was daunting, because I don't think of it as a big deal, because it's the show I do, until I recently had a meeting with Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio, and I shit on myself. You know, I'm like waiting in the lobby going, I'm never going to take this for granted again. I'm never going to take this for granted again. And they were really nice, and I had a great time. I didn't get the part, but, you know, it was still cool.
Yeah, that's great. How any happy surprises through that process?
Oh no, because that's our only rehearsal period is when we have people come in and audition. And
that's it, and then it's just the cameras.
Certain things that Larry makes discoveries all through that, like, oh, I can play it this way, or oh, I said that, I'll say that again. You know.
Yeah.
We don't really steal lines from like actors. If an actor comes in and says a funny line, we don't, usually do that. But usually it's more about Larry coming up with a concept.
And running from there.
How many? We don't rehearse on the show, by the way, either.
There is no rehearsal.
There's no rehearsal.
The camera rolls.
We just say, what we'll do is we'll show the camera where we're going to stand. We go, okay, we'll stand over here, and then we'll walk over here, and then we're going to say this over here. And then the cameraman go, okay, cool, and that's it. We make sure it's lit correctly.
It's the ghost of Preston Bradley.
It's Mrs. Muir, actually.
Mrs. Muir.
And yeah, so that we don't do any rehearsing, and then we just after we do that, and like the actors are like, are we going to say these things ahead? No. Action. Boom.
Save it for the camera.
Yep,
basically.
always.
Yeah. Do you recruit people who are working in Chicago, or mostly Second City people gone west?
We've hired David Pasquesi from Chicago, played Dr. Bloor.
Yeah.
The dentist who gave Larry the big teeth when Larry was up at the Bartlett's farm up there having some Bartlett country. And we've hired Tim Kazurinsky, who was Hugh Mellon, whose son had a big penis. Yeah. Let's see here. And I think that's it in terms of people who live in Chicago. Yeah. A few New Yorkers, but someone was so bad recently from New York, who originally was in Second City and they live in New York now, that they came and they had such a bad attitude and they were so bad that we no longer are flying in actors from out of town.
You'll make the exception for the occasional Chicagoan, probably.
No.
Okay, I just was trying
it's not a matter of me making the exception.
Yeah,
it's just that is the rule now, because she was so horrible. We went and she was recommended by myself, by Larry Charles, who's one of the producers, and Allison Jones, who's the casting director, and she still just was. And it's not even a matter of her being terrible. She was self-destructive terrible. Yeah. Like I can't go any further, but I'll just say that she knew what she was playing when she was hired, and she didn't go along with it. And and she was mean to Larry. If you can believe that, somebody was mean to Larry. And so no one's allowed to fly in anymore. If they want to pay for their own airfare, they can.
Well, I guess there's that.
Yeah.
In the Brain Trust,
and he's really sweet, by the way. Yeah. Believe it or not, Larry David is really, really sweet and really nice to everyone who does the show.
I've spent time with him. He's a very pleasant guy.
He's a real pleasant guy.
Oddly enough, it's kind of like the Howard Stern phenomenon.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Howard's a very nice guy, and so you guys clicked. What are some of the other great moments Jeff has had on screen? Your favorite scenes to play?
Well, the doll episode was one of my favorites. Most of my stuff gets cut, and I know you watch the show and you see a lot of it.
And you're in it all the time.
And I'm in it all the time. But I'd say about half the stuff that I do gets cut, because I do all these scenes with him that are really sort of just they're like sublime little gems that are about nothing. And so because they don't track story, boom, they're gone. I have tapes of most of them.
Really?
Yeah, my favorite scene that Larry and I ever did is a scene waiting for Shelley Berman and Richard Kind outside of the graveyard, and we're going to go bury his mother. And there's a scene of Larry and I just sitting there waiting, and the conversation that we have is one of the funniest things that Larry and I ever did, and it'll never be seen.
Now, wait a minute, there is DVD stuff coming up.
Yes,
now,
but Larry does not understand DVDs.
He doesn't get the bonus
He doesn't
material?
get the bonus material. We had to explain to him that you need to include bonuses to sort of get people excited. It's like a bonus you throw into the fans. And so he did an interview with Bob Costas, not the one that aired, but like a separate interview. And we did commentary, which I had to explain to him why we should do commentary. So we did commentary on 2 episodes, and he was so uncomfortable and so mad about it that he actually scrapped one of the commentaries. That was stupid. We shouldn't have done it. So we got rid of it. So there's 1 commentary coming out. The DVDs are coming out in August. Actually, just season 1.
Season 1.
The show's become so popular that they only are doing 1 season.
Well, maybe by the season 2, you can convince the lost
next
Jeff
year
Green.
he won't. Next year. See, you know what? But see, nobody keeps those. I keep my own I have my own best of Jeff Green. But
why didn't you bring it tonight? It could have been great. Yeah, come back for another one.
Actually, you know what? That would have been a good idea.
Maybe we'll do
I'll
a
donate
sequel.
something to the
Donate
museum.
to Bruce.
Yeah, and you'll all have to come here to see the lost Jeff Green stuff. But it is. I mean, but it's Larry's show, and I'm a producer of Larry's show. So, sometimes I have to look at things as a producer where that needed to be cut. Our show would be perfect if it was like 45 minutes long.
Yeah. Well, the good
because
news
then all
is
the stuff could be in there.
You're going to do an hour long.
I'll tell you, the finale this year is an hour long. It takes place in New York. And
We won't be back till when? January.
January, it's not going to be back on the air till then.
But we're missing the show right now. I guess you're on every
Yeah, see, every Monday night they're repeating all the episodes on Mondays.
for 2 episodes at from 7 to 8 here in
Yes, yeah.
Chicago.
In Chicagoland. I used to love that as a kid. You're Chicagoland Ford dealers. Chicagoland.
It's a land here.
The land of Chicago.
You directed at least one episode, didn't you?
I directed an episode called The Thong,
Uh-huh.
where Larry sees his therapist wearing a thong
Yeah, but that was disturbing.
on the beach. Yeah. But, you know, it was an adventure even getting that shot of the guy bending over. Larry thought, no one wants to see that. And I'm like, that's the funniest thing ever. He had to convince him. Yeah, but I don't direct anymore because Larry is uncomfortable with me directing.
Why is that?
And by the way, my episode was submitted for an Emmy, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like
Yeah.
a lack of quality type of thing. He doesn't like other cast members directing. Like if Cheryl ever wanted to direct, I think he'd like lock himself in a room and throw up for an hour.
Really?
There's some sort of phobia he has towards it. The other producers direct, but that's all they do.
But he needs you to be Jeff Green.
He wants
maybe.
me. He doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And the episode that I directed, I wasn't in.
Yeah.
So it sort of worked out.
Oh, that's.
But it was the Groats thing too, where he had the little girl beats him up. It's funny.
Well, you're going to come back here allegedly in the autumn to direct your directorial debut.
My
though.
directorial debut called "I Want Someone to Eat Cheese With," that is now
Based
being
on-
put together, based on a one-man show that I did. Yeah, loosely based because it's sort of another story. Because a one-man show is a one-man show and a movie's a movie, so it's got to be different.
Can you tell the folks a little bit about what the film?
No, and it's not because, here's the thing. Daddy daycare. 2 guys lose their jobs and they can't afford daycare for their kids anymore, so they open up their own daycare center. Very easy.
Yeah.
My movie is about a guy. And things happen to him. You know, it's like, that's a $65 million high concept movie. My movie is a $2 million tops character study thing that I hope is like a Woody Allen or an Albert Brooks movie and that people like it and they laugh, but I can't describe it, you know. It's influenced by Marty, the
Yeah.
movie Marty, you know. But
That'll be fantastic. So you're going to be doing exterior stuff here. And,
well, hopefully the whole movie here. I'm trying to work it out with the
great.
city of Chicago and
Mayor would like that.
I talked to him the other day. I met him the other day.
Did
He's
you?
very nice. Yeah, and I'm trying to work it out that I shoot the whole thing here. But I can promise you this: there'll be no shots of the L. It seems like any idiot who comes to Chicago, we're filming in Chicago, we should get a shot of that train thing. Always the L. The L, Chicago Theater, the Lions outside of the Art Institute. You know, it's like the same crap every time. We're in Chicago, so no! There'll be no L. It's a rule. No L.
What will we see for sure? Any
Just
landmark?
people on, I think, Nookies.
There you go.
The Third Coast. Where else? The Wiener Circle.
Sure.
I'm trying to think where else. There's, different places.
Yeah.
So there's a place I found. There's a scene in an ice cream parlor called Sweetie's Ice Cream. Has anyone ever been there? Yeah, by Wrigley Field, right down the block. Awesome. I have diabetes, and I had a sundae the other day. Every once in a while I do that, and then I go back to my hotel and fall asleep. But it's a Blue Moon type of thing. But Sweeties I'm going to film at, too.
That's fantastic.
But like all real places, you know?
Yeah.
So nothing with the L. And no characters are going to walk by the L.
How about that? I agree.
You know?
How about some questions? Anybody? I want some Curb fans to step forward here. Yes.
Okay. She said, how did Louis Nye and Mina Kolb end up being my parents? Louis Nye auditioned against some other people. It was actually down to him and Avery Schreiber.
God rest his soul.
Yeah. And they set this up for people to come up if they want to come up. Louis was just, it was really funny. I was in the hospital. I'll tell you something that's kind of weird. This is really weird. I had a stroke before the first season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. if you watch the DVDs or watch the first episodes, you'll see me slurring my words and having a great deal of trouble speaking. Actually, Curbs sort of changed my life the first season because it forced me to enunciate and talk. And I couldn't really walk right. I actually used a golf club. I figured I was a comedian. I wasn't going to use a cane, so I used the golf club to help myself walk. So I had a stroke shortly before. And when I was in the hospital at Cedars-Sinai, they have a channel that shows old Jack Benny's and old Burns and Allen. And they had an old Jack Benny episode with Louis Nye playing a taxi driver who's afraid of flying, a taxi cab driver who's afraid of flying. It was hysterical. Well, I get out of the hospital, the first thing we do is cast for my parents. There's Louis Nye. So it was very exciting, and he was great. And Mina Kolb, I knew from Second City, who came up to me at the Second City 40th anniversary and told me I looked nice in red. And so my mom came home and went, well, Mina's funny, the way she says things. I look nice in red. Bring in Mina Kolb. And she was clearly it, you know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Orange Whip?
Orange Whip?
What's Orange Whip? Anyone?
Did I see? A Curb?
Question about Old West collectibles.
Sure.
So you've asked, and the thing is, you were very thorough.
I know. See?
So
Damn
it's
it.
not like, you know.
You have an idea, yes. Oh, yeah, go ahead over there.
You know, can you do me a favor? I'm going to make your job harder. Because this is very horrible for people, and I think they don't want to walk up there. Can you take the mic out of there? It's wireless. And just take the mic up to people if they raise their hands.
Let's pretend
because
we're
that
on
way,
Donahue.
people don't want, you can sit down. You can go sit down. No, because that way, it's just sort of, to walk up there in the light, hello everyone, I'm in broadcasting. Jeff, what I was wondering is, how does a washing machine work? Go ahead.
Do you shoot a lot of footage? Like, I'm trying to get a sense of, do you have a lot of takes do you do to get a scene, or is it difficult with different actors that aren't used to your process?
Well, the actors that we hire are, for the most part, experienced in, it's a new process to them, but they're improvisers, so it works out. Depending on what the scene is about and who's in it. Generally a scene with Larry and myself, like the one of us driving in the car, that was 2 takes maybe that we did that. And so when you see a scene on television from the show, it's usually a combination of 5 or 6 takes. It looks seamless because we have a genius editor, but it's usually like 5 or 6 takes. Sometimes like 10 takes, depending on the director too. Some directors I have to go up to and go, I don't want to do this again.
Since you've been working together, have you developed a chemistry? Is it different chemistry now that you've been working together for a couple of years than it was when you first started, so you can get stuff?
No, Larry and I, it was very freakish. We felt like we had been a comedy team for like 40 years when we first started working together. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to do a show, a regular series, because we had this instant chemistry. And now, you know, yeah, it does get better, but we always had that, you know. If we didn't have it at first, and you know, in comedy, chemistry is not something that you can develop, or you know, if it's not there, it's not going to come.
Right.
It's either there or it's not there, you know. So.
That's great.
If you are doing your 5th take, are you trying to recreate what happened in the first take if you thought it was really funny?
Every person approaches it differently, and sometimes Larry will say, please say this again, what you said in the first take. But for myself, every take I do differently. There's not one take that's remotely similar. As long as I know we have it, I'll say to the director, did we get that last one? Great, and I'll do it completely different. I'll even change the complete tone as the way I play something.
You know, I was wondering, you have the most infectious theme song ever. What is that piece of music?
It's the old Barnaby Jones theme.
It is not. No.
It was a piece of music that Larry had heard on a bank commercial once, and he had his assistant research to where it was, and then we got a hold of it and got the rights.
Is that right?
He played it for me. He had a copy of it, and he played it for me, and he said, should I use this? He's always unsure. What do you think of this? And I go, if you don't use it as the theme song, I won't be on the show. It's that good of a theme song.
It's a fantastic piece of music. Yeah.
You know what?
Yes, sir.
It's my brother-in-law.
All right.
Is it true that the wife on your show is like your wife in real life? And second part question, is it true that you love waffles at Tempo?
Oh, yeah, I love waffles at Tempo. My real life wife, if she was anything like my television wife, I would not be married. I would be divorced.
Have you ever thought about casting a brother on the show?
Yeah,
No.
because he's got the blackmail material ready to go.
If not a brother, somebody from the crappy Second City program right now, the conservatory level.
That's in the quote conservatory. Anyone can come be on the show.
If I pay for the flight, can I audition for your show?
Do you want to audition for the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're at episode 9 of 10 right now, and auditions are in Los Angeles starting tomorrow. And fly out. Tell them I said it was okay.
Yes, and
Wait, aren't you steering him wrong? It's you're doing the last show in New York City.
No, the last 2 shows. We cast 2 shows at a time.
I see.
So we're casting 9 and 10 this week. And
The next season hasn't begun to be written yet, has it? No.
no.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, here's other bad news for fans of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Because the show is going on the air in January, and Larry's wife demands that he go to Martha's Vineyard every summer, he will finish writing. If we do another season, he will finish writing in the spring, go to Martha's Vineyard, and then we won't start shooting until September, which means as soon as the season after that will be on, will be another year and a half later after that. So it's the way it is. I'm sorry.
It's the HBO
It's called
way.
The Life of a Man with Hundreds of Millions of Dollars. Because, Larry, as you well know, doesn't need to do the show. He has enough money for all of us to live on. He'd give us all money and we could all have huge houses, okay? He does the show because creatively it stimulates him and he loves doing it. The thing that he finds daunting every year is the writing. Writing the 10 episodes is, if he could have those written, he'd do it for 40 years, he doesn't care. It's just the writing is always the mountain, and then before you know it, he's written these great 10 episodes.
Well, the brilliance is that he finds all these little peccadillos in life, much like Seinfeld
I don't
did.
know how he does
But
it.
these are even more barbed and more...
Well, yeah, because he can get away with anything on HBO,
Yeah.
The little things.
Does he tell you when something's really bugging him in life, and then you...
You might be
find
with
it
him when
later?
something happens and you think about then it's on the show,
Anything come to mind like that?
No.
Okay, fine. Anybody
No,
else?
I don't nothing really I can think of.
Could you please mention the influence of Ira Novos on your comedic
Emo, what are
career?
you doing to me? That's Emo Phillips, everybody.
Hello.
The great
Emo, Emo's looking good.
And Ira Novos is a comedian from Chicago who is friends with Emo and I, who is as a character. All right.
We're going to see Emo in an episode?
If Emo is right for a part, yes.
Emo's right
Look
for
back
many
on the
parts.
history of Curb Your Enthusiasm. There hasn't been quite anything Emo-esque yet. But when it does happen, you will see Emo.
I want to see Emo.
Yeah. Hey, Emo.
Anybody else here? There we have a young lady over there.
Hi. I would like to know if Larry really owns a hybrid car.
A hybrid? Oh, yeah.
Is that his car?
No, the one he drives on the show is not. They actually have he drives a different color one, but he has a Prius. He drives a Prius, which, is, I think, goofy, but, He made me get rid of my sport utility.
Did he really?
Yeah, his wife's way into that. Every year he harped on it, and then I just got sick of paying the big gas prices, and I didn't like what it did for the environment, so I got a Cadillac. No, I'm kidding. So, people would I go, what are you going to get? People say, you should get a Cadillac. I go, then why get rid of the sport utility? I just got a V6.
Is that his nonchalance only on the TV, or does he dress that way?
The way he dresses on the show is the way he dresses. He wears his own clothes.
That's what I mean.
He does. They buy him some of the clothes, the show, but he wears his own clothes on the show. He brings, every day he's told by the wardrobe person what to bring from home.
They know what's in his closet.
They know what's in his closet, yes, they do. And he wears his own
It
clothes.
was fun watching him shop at Barney's with
Harry
Harry
Steenburgen, yeah, that was very funny.
Which they repeated last
Yeah.
week. Anybody else with a... I see a hand in the back, or a hand over
Young
there.
lady with the hair. Dear God.
Hi,
I met you. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, he told me. My girlfriend is an intern at Second City, and she has big hair.
I'm the one with the big hair. I have a question about, I've noticed that you've incorporated both Jason Alexander's character and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
I was wondering, are you going to be incorporating Kramer's character anytime?
Michael Richards?
Yeah, Michael Richard?
No.
Richards, rather?
No.
No plans to do that?
No.
Just curious.
No. I'm sorry to not elaborate, but no.
I can tell there's a story just burbling under the surface there.
No. I was on the last, by the way, I was on the last episode. I can speak for myself. I was on the last episode of the Michael Richards show, and he was a huge dick. So, there you go. But that's not the reason why. All right?
He's an unusual guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
He was really weird. He didn't want me being funny. It was really weird to do it. And so, I've not forgotten that. Although I don't think about it.
Yeah.
It's funny, like when bad things happen to me in show business, I don't forget them, but I don't think about them. So until you said that, I wouldn't have thought of that. Yeah. But I love Kramer on Seinfeld, which is why it was such a disappointment to me, you know. All right, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, hi. First of all, last night I saw you at Zany's in the last set. Yeah, at 10:30. It was
here's the typical
absolutely hilarious.
Early show or late show?
Late show.
Late show.
Late show.
You saw a good show.
Yeah. I was the one that reminded you where you were in your point of the Neil Diamond story.
Oh, the Neil Diamond story? What about?
I was the one that reminded you where you were in your story.
Oh,
so I was sitting right there. Yeah. Okay.
I remembered you. Okay.
Yeah. But oddly, before your show,
That's the best show I've done like in years.
that was unbelievable, and it was so funny. At one point, when you were talking about Neil Diamond, I could not breathe. I was afraid for myself.
That's my job. When I do stand up, I want people to actually fall and die.
So funny. It was so funny. But
when
before,
I kill them, I really want to kill them.
Asphyxiation or bust.
Yeah.
well, oddly, so before your show, Trio Television did their Bill Hicks special, start last night, first time. So I watched that at home before I came to see you.
Right.
And then I was taping it. When I got back home at like almost 1, because your set went till 12:30.
Yeah, I did a long time.
It was
yeah.
great, yeah.
Thank you.
Then Lenny Bruce was on. So I sat and watched that. So it was like a Jeff Garland sandwich between those two far different comedians. So it was a great night.
Big stand-up night for you.
Man, but your set killed, and so my point is, I hope you're going to be doing a lot of stand-up between now and your next project. Are you going to be doing that?
Last night's Late Show actually made me think about doing more stand-up, and I talked to my stand-up agent today about that. But the realities are, when I'm shooting Curb Your Enthusiasm, I work 12 to 14 hours a day, and I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, 2 boys that I worship, and I would gladly give up stand-up comedy to spend even a millisecond with them. So it all depends on, if I'm filming, I can't. This is like a rare thing for me. The last time I did stand-up on terms of on the road was in January. I was in Boston. I just don't like leaving my wife and kids. I like being with my family. So I can only do so much in show business, but I would love to. And you're very nice to say that.
Nice that you killed on Father's Day, too.
I killed on Father's Day, yeah.
The least you can do for the kids.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I thought I saw a hand back here.
Yeah. Over there. Orange Whip?
Orange Whip.
Thanks. I'm just curious, when you guys choose a celebrity guest star, does Larry kind of think about who he wants and then creates it, or is it more that he kind of gets sparked? And
Very good question. And I'll tell you a few different thoughts on that. First off, we never do a show where any of the parts are created for a celebrity. For example, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston worship Curb Your Enthusiasm. They have Curb Your Enthusiasm parties every week, okay? I worked with Brad, and that's how I found out, and I met Jennifer, and they told me, and I've seen them at the award show since then, you know, and I tell Larry, and Larry's like, oh, that's great. You know, they really want to be on the show. Doing what? I don't know, Brad, you know me, I can't write for that, I don't know. Yet, Larry wrote this coming up season, and we knew that Mel Brooks was going to do the show. Mel Brooks is going to be on the show this year, and Ben Stiller. But we had one more part that Larry wrote, and I bumped into a guy who's an acquaintance of mine, David Schwimmer, and he was like, I'll do anything to be on that show. And I said, well, maybe there might be something. I'm going to talk to Larry tomorrow. And the next day I went, you know that part? I go, David Schwimmer, David Schwimmer, David Schwimmer, David Schwimmer. Will he do it? I just saw him last night. He will? Yeah. So David Schwimmer is on the show. And so that's how. It has to be organic. It has to be the right way. Otherwise, it just sort of comes off as, you wouldn't like the show anymore.
Yeah.
It would become this other thing,
Like a very special episode kind of thing.
My brother-in-law's walking out.
Yeah, that's a nice sign. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I know you're
it's good seeing you, pal.
A man with priorities. Is that about it? Anybody else have any? Go right ahead. Yes, sir. Right there.
But she has the mic.
I have the mic.
Oh.
She has the mic and she's way better looking. Sit down. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Hi, Jeff.
You didn't notice her? You're divorced, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, go ahead.
I am now.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
I'm Laura. I met you on What About Joan a while ago. What About Joan?
We met on What About Joan?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was
cool.
a waitress.
Okay.
Whatever. I had a question about, I really like the show. If you said that Larry might not do this for a long time, or you kind of said that he doesn't need to do it, how have you guys talked about how long you guys would be working together? And the second
We talk
question...
about that every year. I'm not making up when I say this. Every season we've done, I thought was going to be the last season. So it's my opinion that what we're shooting right now will be the last Curb Your Enthusiasm season. So I don't know. I'd say for there to be another season, about 50-50, and I'd say 1,000,000 to 1 after that.
Really?
Larry likes playing golf, and this takes up and he's got 2 daughters and a wife. It takes up this show. And let me tell you something, I work my ass off on the show, and I work about half as hard as Larry David does. So it's hard. It's long. I don't like seeing my kids for 5 minutes in the morning and then getting home and they're sleeping. It's just not, it's not what I want to do, but as long as the show goes, I'll do it, I'm not going to be a holdout.
No McLean Stevenson thing for you.
No McLean Stevenson thing for me. No hello, Larry.
No hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Jeff. And I guess we have time for one more. Yes, sir.
Here, she's got it. She's coming to you.
Oh, thank you. You were talking about your Someone to Eat Cheese With movie that you wanted to shoot exteriors here.
Yeah.
Would you ever be interested in taking a larger role in like an independent film company that had a script they wanted to shoot everything here with a Chicago crew and all that? What kind of role would you be interested in taking, like as an actor or a producer or a director, if any?
All, but it would depend on the script.
Right.
If the script sucks, you're not going to get me.
Oh.
On any level. If it's a really funny, interesting script, I would do anything to help people make a movie, whether it be acting it, direct it, whatever. I generally, in terms of directing, though, I mostly have an interest in directing my own material. There's one script that a friend of mine is Preston Sturgis, his son.
Junior,
Yeah, but he's not Junior. It's actually just.
Oh, is that right? Really?
Just Preston Sturgis, and he wrote a script called Two Gentlemen of Manhattan, and I want to make that someday. But in general, I want to direct my own stuff. As an actor, however, my God, I'd love to be in a well-written movie that's made here in Chicago. Even I would do it for little money. I don't care. I'm not driven by money.
We want you back home is what we're trying to tell you here.
Definitely.
Anybody else here? Yes, sir.
Run.
Yeah. It's kind
Because
of
she's not going to do it. She's way slow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My question is, presumably you feel you're successful now? And
I feel I'm successful now?
Yeah. I mean, nobody would disagree with
something. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is way more famous and way more successful than I am. And we were both laughing because he doesn't feel successful. I don't feel successful. There's no moment where you go, man, I am successful. It's just sort of, I feel like you do. I'm just sort of, you like the show that I do, but I don't ever walk down the street. I forget that anyone even knows who I am when I'm walking down the street, Paul Newman has to know he's successful. Jeff Garlin, third person reference, I have no idea that I'm successful, you know? So if you tell me I am, I am. If you tell me I suck, I suck. I don't know, you know? So I find that funny. But this person that I talked to who's hugely successful, Jon Stewart, I'll tell you who that is, okay? He doesn't think he's successful. We've been laughing at that. It's funny, you know?
I was going to ask, and after that, then
No, I'm sorry.
if you don't mind,
Do you have a follow-up?
simply if well, where you are now is you're famous. Is it kind of what you expected it to be, or are you happy with where you are?
Yes, I'm happy. My God, I'm happy. I'm thrilled, you know? But there's a flip side, and that is I'm living the goals that I made when I was 20 years old, or 18, or even 8 for that matter. I love being a comedian. But for a 41-year-old married guy, fame is bullshit. It's good for you if you're 22 and you want to get laid. It's great. But for a 41-year-old married guy, on occasion I get in a restaurant quicker, you know? But in general, that part of it is just baloney, you know? It does nothing for me. It's not, and I really wanted it when I was 20. Oh, I wanted to be famous so bad. But now it's so low on my priority list. It's not even on my priority list. But success is good, you know, and I look at what I do in general, whether it be Curb Your Enthusiasm or stand-up, as easing the pain, because I feel like it's so hard to be a human being, okay, that we all share that if I make people laugh, then that's a great thing. That's a noble thing, and that's what I do, you know, so that brings me joy, that I'm able to do that. And that is successful, you know, that I'm able to do that. But, you know, fame is, what is that? Nothing.
Okay.
Spoken like a true Chicago boy. I think we want to just thank Mr. Garland for being here tonight. Mr. Dumont. Perhaps Bruce Dumont.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeff Garland.
There he is. Sure. Jeff Green.
It's great to welcome home a Chicagoan, and not only a real Chicagoan, but a real person. I think it certainly came across tonight that Jeff's heart is still back home in Chicago, and it's great to welcome him home this evening. As I mentioned before, we're going to have a quick auction here. One of Chicago's best auction people, Rick Levin, is a new board member of the museum. Rick, come on up here. And here's Rick. He will explain the ground rules.
Yes, the ground rules. You've got to buy these 2 items tonight, and actually there's 3 items. There's this jacket, and let's get it open here, that's got HBO on the inside. We'll get this open, HBO on the inside. There you go, pretty cool. And it comes with a Jack Brickhouse sweatshirt. But you've got to buy it tonight. We take Visa, MasterCard, check, or cash. The gift shop downstairs is open. These are going to just sell. Why don't we just start with the Curb Your Enthusiasm poster? These are compliments of HBO, and it's a great memento from tonight. So why don't we start it out with somebody offering $50 for that Curb Your Enthusiasm poster? $50, thank you. How about $75? $75, thank you, $75. How about $100? Curb Your Enthusiasm poster, thank you, $100. Any advances over $100 for the Curb Your Enthusiasm poster? I'm sure on eBay it's, you know, what, thousands, but nobody appreciates it. I should do my Larry David shtick. $100. We will get Jeff to autograph it if he's still here. Okay? $100. How about $125? $125? How about $150? $150 anywhere? $125? $125? $150? Thank you. How about $175? $175. We'll get Jeff to. We're going to get Jeff to autograph this. Jeff, don't go anywhere. $175. You'll never be able to get one of these again. $175. Oh, come on, it's only money. The more you pay, the more you'll impress your friends. We're at $150. Looking for $175. How about $160? You can't raise your own bid. $150. How about $160? $160. Going once. Going twice. Sell it to her, $160. Congratulations. Johnny, $160. Bruce, we need Jeff to stick around. Johnny will take care of you. Why don't you step right back up there with Johnny? But Bruce, we're going to need Jeff to autograph it, if Jeff is still here. He better be. We'll get him to, no problem. And thank you. Last but not least, we've got this cool HBO jacket. When people say, hey, yeah, that's a cool HBO jacket, where'd you get it? You'll say, well, you know, Jeff Garland, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I don't want to show off that I know him, so I got it on the inside. Plus, the Jack Brickhouse sweatshirt. The jacket is a large. It's a leather jacket. Obviously, you know, a lot of people are walking around with these, but they have to buy it at the HBO gift store. All these proceeds go to the Museum of Broadcasting Communication. Let's start it out with $150. $150 for the jacket and the Jack Brickhouse sweatshirt. $150, got $150, thank you. How about $200? Got $150. How about $175? Is this mic on? I know some of you are leaving. We got one. Yep, right over there. Thank you. $175. $175, Rob. How about $200? Thank you, Trudy. $200. How about $250? Let's cut to the chase here. $250. 200. Thank you, Rob. $250. Let's keep it in 50s. How about $300? Trudy. $300. How about $350? Rob's at $350. How about $400, Trudy? Okay, it looks like it's going to be me and Rob. I'm at $375, Rob. Sorry about that. So it's $400. Where are we going to end this? Okay, I'm at $425. How about $450, Rob? We could share it. $450. Okay, Rob, I'm sorry. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to do this and I'm going to stop. So if you want it more than I do, go for it. I'm at $500. That's it. I'm coming out. You know, I'm saying it. $500. I'm going to stop. So it's mine unless you want it for $525. Mine? Okay. Thank you. I'm the winning bidder. Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody.